Thumbelina. Once upon a time, there was a lady and she lived by herself. She always wanted a daughter since she was a little girl. One bright morning, she was watering the plants and crying, thinking if she had a little girl with whom she could play with. A fairy godmother appeared in front of her.
What happened, my child? Why are you crying?
I have set my heart upon having little girl. Please, could you tell me where I can find one? I'm helpless.
Oh, don't worry. That can be easily managed.
Fairy godmother with her magical powers brought forward the seed in front of her.
My child, see, it is not an ordinary seed that grows in farm. This seed needs a lot of love and warmth. Put it into a flower pot and see what will happen. And don't forget to give it enough sunlight.
Thank you, Godmother. You are so generous.
She planted the seed in the pot. She kept the pot in front of the window for enough sunlight. It quickly grew into a fine large flower which looked very much like a tulip. The lady nourished it, loved and watered it day. One day, she softly kissed a half-shut petals and stood by magic flower, opened in full blossom. Inside sat a very delicate and graceful little maiden girl.
She is my child, my daughter. I'll call her Thumbelina. She is not bigger than the size of my thumb. I'm your mother, and your name is Thumbelina.
The flower had given her daughter that she had dreamed of. She had a walnut shell that served as her cradle, violet petals for her mattress, and she put up the rose petals as her blanket. During the day, she played a tulip petals boat floating on a plate of water, and rocked herself from side to side with two oars made of white horsehair. It really was a very pretty sight. One night, she lay fast asleep in her walnut shell. A large frog hopped through a hole in the window pane.
Rock! How pretty she is! She'd made a perfect bride for my own dear son.
She took up the walnut shell in which little Tiny lay asleep, and put Thumbelina on water lily leaf in the middle of the pond.
I have placed her on a lily leaf. She will never be able to escape us now.
Left all alone on the green leaf, Thumbelina sat down and cried. She didn't want to have Frog's horrible son for her husband.
No way! Should I marry you? No, no way!
You can say that to me.
On the other hand, Lady tried to find Thumbelina in every corner of the house, but she couldn't find her. There was a shoal of fishes who swam in the water beneath her. They had seen the frog and heard their conversation. They felt very sorry, so they decided to help her. Meanwhile, the frog and her son were busy making the wedding plans. The fishes gathered around the green stem and nibbled it with their feet. The leaves separated from the stem and Thumbelina started floating.
Thank you so much. You guys are really kind.
Thumbelina went away, far, far away where the frog couldn't find her. Thumbelina sailed past many places. As darkness grew, she wrapped herself with the leaf and slept. In the next morning, she woke up at a place where the sun struck the water and it looked like shining gold. She was heading toward the end of the stream. Just then, a big bug flew by.
What a beautiful girl she is! I must save her.
Immediately, he fastened his claws around her and took her away to a far, far place.
Where are you taking me, Mr. Bug?
I'm taking you to my house.
After a while, when they reached the bug house, all the other bugs who lived in the tree came to see who had come.
First, look at this pretty girl. I'm going to marry her.
She has only 2 legs. What a miserable sight this is. Look at that. She has 2 hands. How simple. She looks like human being. How ugly she is.
Mr. Bug came to agree with them, and finally, he left her somewhere deep in the forest. The winters approached. Snow began to fall, and the poor girl shivered with cold. It was terribly cold for her. She woke and woke finding food and shelter. No sooner did she come across a little cottage. She went to a huge door of the cottage and knocked. Out came a fat mouse who lived in the cottage.
Who are you, poor little thing?
I'm lost in forest. I am feeling very cold and have nothing to eat. Could you help me?
Oh, I live alone here. You can come into my house and share my dinner. You will feel warm here, but before that, may I know your name?
I am THUMBELINA.
Thumbelina came inside. The cottage was warm and cozy with a whole storeroom of grain and a kitchen with a pantry.
Thank you for giving me food and a warm place to stay.
You can stay with me all winter.
Mrs. Mouse, you are so kind.
The mouse was fascinated by Thumbelina's beauty, that she wanted her to stay with her forever.
It's a weekend, so we shall have a visitor today. Once every week, my neighbor comes to see me.
Soon the bell rang, and there appeared a mole. He paid them a visit in his black velvet coat. The mole heard her voice and fell in love with her sweet voice. He decided to marry her, so he went to the mouse and said,
I shall give you all my food and my house, if only you get me married to this pretty girl.
Thumbelina didn't want to marry with the mole, so the next morning she decided to run away. While wandering in the forest, she came upon an injured sparrow lying in the forest.
The poor bird must certainly have died of the cold.
As she went closer, she saw the sparrow was alive. She was just injured.
Are you okay, Mrs. Sparrow? Oh no, it's bleeding.
Thumbelina decided to help the sparrow and got some bandage and medicine for the sparrow.
Don't worry, Mrs. Sparrow, you will be all right now.
The sparrow could fly just as she applied bandage.
Goodbye, you are pretty sparrow.
Thank you, pretty little child. I shall never forget this. What shall I do for you?
Soon she saw the mouse and the mole approaching and calling out her name.
Oh, Thumbelina, where are you?
Thumbelina heard their voice and she told to the sparrow.
The mouse wants me to get married to Mr. Mole. Please, could you take me away somewhere far from them? I don't want to marry the mole.
I have a plan. Come on my bag, quickly.
Goodbye, Mrs. Mouse. Thank you for everything. I love you and I'll never forget this.
The mole and mouse were startled as they saw Thumbelina flying away. The sparrow took her to a flower land where were all types of flowers and little birds who could sing.
Wow, this is so beautiful. What is called?
It's called the Flowerland, and it's time I leave.
Thank you, Mrs. Sparrow. You are the best.
Thumbelina was very happy. This is my home. These flowers smell so good. The birds sing so softly. Now, sooner did she remember her real home, how her mother grew her up with her love. She felt very sad and wanted to go home now. But suddenly there appeared the king of the flowerland. He saw Thumbelina and fell in love with her.
The king of Flowerland. And you are wonderful girl I ever seen. Will you marry me and be my wife? I will make you to the queen of the Flowerland.
Thumbelina thought for a minute. Here indeed was a different sort of husband from Froggy's son, Mr. Bob, and the mole with his black velvet coat.
Yes, only if you take me back to my mother and we live happily there.
He agreed and brought Thumbelina a present. The best gift of all was a pair of wings that had belonged to a large silver fly. When these were made fast to her back, she too could fly from flower to flower. After the marriage, the king and Thumbelina fly away and found the mother's home. The mother was really happy to see her back.
Oh, Thumbelina, you don't know how happy I am to get you back. I will never let you go away from me now.
Mother welcomed both of them and lived happily ever after.